Cool. We're live right now. I'm getting feedback from someone. All right, that's gone now. I'm just gonna wait for that to kick in. Throw that on mute, and we are good to go. Oh man, it's been a crazy week. It's definitely been a crazy week for myself. The team has been doing a wonderful job over on TICGN.com. And all of our network podcasts have been doing some solid work. It's unfortunate what's been happening over at Writer's Block and Kid Smooth, and he's been having some technical problems, but don't worry, we'll get that show back going pretty soon. But today we have some guests, and I can't wait to introduce them. And it's going to be a fun show. We get a chance to talk about a few things, a few topics here and there. And once we get the ball rolling, you guys already know how we do on the Premiere Podcast for Xbox One, so let's get started. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the Premiere Podcast for Xbox One. I'm your host, KLWarXKL, with Anchorman V.
Hey, everybody.
And B Money 101, who will be with us shortly. And today, we have two guests with us. First, we have Miss Bella Rise.
Hi, everyone.
And joining us shortly is our old castmate, Unified, who is now with Bella over at Real Game Media, RGM. You guys know that website. And do you guys have a podcast over there?
We do. We're actually firing it back up again this coming weekend. We've had a couple of months off due to the merger and E3 and Gamescom and typhoons, but we'll be kicking that off again next weekend.
Okay, cool. So definitely check out RGM, man. Keep an eye out for that. If you're not following them, definitely follow them and support. It's always good to support websites, gaming websites that are, you're getting content from real gamers. That's why I feel that sites like ICXM, sites like TICGN, RGM, Next Level Gaming guys, you get the content from the gamers. And it's really important because they give you the truth, man. There's no agenda behind it. No one is cutting us checks. Nobody's in our pockets. So you don't have to worry about getting any type of false things out of us. So yeah, it's really good to have these guys on, and lady, let me not say guys. And we have a host of topics to talk about today. So first and foremost, I want to talk about ReCore. I'm a big ReCore fan. I've been dying to play ReCore. Unfortunately, I still didn't pick the game up just yet. Some of you know I had a child this past week, so that's kind of put that on hold, but I will get around to picking it up. But, I was disappointed to see some of the review scores on the game. But the one thing that I noticed during the whole entire, I guess you could say during the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Debacle. Yeah, I guess you could say debacle when it came to these review scores was that no one actually talked about the game was bad. No one ever said that the game itself was bad. It was more that the game was just buggy. There was long loading times. And that really gave it such poor reviews. And it's funny because you look at a game, you look at games all generation. And we've spoken about this a number of times about how games this generation have been either incomplete, rushed, buggy. It's just not like old school games. It's just not like last generation where even if the games were buggy, they weren't this buggy. And it's almost PC-like with some of the issues that you can have with these games, and everything is being pre-patched and patched after release and things like that. So it's just very weird and very funny how everything has played out. Now, my understanding is that ReCore is a very, very fun game. And the story is actually really good and the people are really enjoying the game. So I'm excited about picking it up. But I really feel that review scores, once again, will play a role in the decision of people picking up the game. And we might not get a sequel to the title, which will probably be an improvement, which is, in my opinion, similar to how I feel about Quantum Break. As someone who enjoyed Quantum Break, I feel as if that because the review scores were so poor and the game sold so poorly, we probably will never see a sequel to Quantum Break. But at the same time, my understanding is that they kind of left it ended so that way if it was only one, there was only one. So what do you guys think about these review scores? Do you think that they were too harsh? Do you think they were right on point? Did you guys get an opportunity to play ReCore? Let's start with our guest, Bella.
Sure. So I think that Microsoft made a rod for their own back for this one. I don't think that it should have been hyped as early as what it was. It certainly shouldn't have been presented back at E3, what was it, last year or the year before, when they first demonstrated the first lot of CG on it. I think that they put a unrealistic expectation on the development studio of what they were meant to achieve for a game that is, basically a very small studio, a very small game. It isn't even released at a full game price because it's not a full AAA game, but it's being marketed as a AAA game experience. And so gamers are going into it expecting what they would possibly get out of games, of a similar magnitude, like Gears of War or whatever it might be. And they're getting less than what they expected. And it's because they're going in with unrealistic expectations to begin with. Now, what we need to keep in mind is, like I said, it's a smaller studio. And this game probably shouldn't have been released when it was. It got rushed out the door. Those issues with loading times, that shouldn't be a thing that happens on a game that is meant to be full for release. It shouldn't have been a problem. So I understand where gamers are coming from when they're complaining about that. I do think that they're focusing on the wrong thing, though. They should be focusing on the content and the experience that they're getting out of it, and not little things like bugs and loading screens. Yes, they shouldn't be present in a game that's been fully launched. But hey, when's the last time any of us bought a game that wasn't buggy?
It's funny that you say that. It's true. I mean, there's not a lot of games other than Nintendo who really make high quality titles. There's not really a lot of games that you get that does not have bugs, and I think that's attributed to these consoles just being so close to PC. With these updated patches and things like that, I think developers feel like they can ship a title and then patch it later, but I think that's a detriment to what they do. I also just want to say that I don't know if Microsoft marketed ReCore as a AAA title. I think they started out when they first announced it as a AAA title, kind of, and we all felt that it was going in that direction, and then suddenly just all promotion for the game kind of just faded. Then you got the $40 price point, and that immediately screamed that it wasn't AAA. And you just got less coverage of the game. So, I mean, I felt like it was more of an AA title. It almost felt like an indie project, to be honest with you. And I don't want to...
That's the thing with how they start off with this marketing. I mean, look at what happened with Quantum Break, right? You put something out there initially with your first lot of big push in your marketing, which is, this is an Xbox One exclusive.
Right.
Then down the track, you change the market and you go, well, it's an Xbox One exclusive, but we're also releasing it on PC. Now, we saw the shitstorm that came of that. That was insane, the lashback on that. Right. And it's because you can't go and put out for your first big media push, this is what this is going to be, particularly somewhere like E3, where a lot of, as I guess we dub them, casuals, tune in to check out what's going on and all the new games that are going to be released. But they're not on the forums, they're not on Twitter every day, they're not on Facebook talking with other gamers about all the different news that's come out, reading articles, keeping themselves up to date with every single little thing that changes on the marketing between the particular day that we see our first exposure to the game to the day that it actually gets released. And nor should they have to. If you're going to come out and market something as something, make it that. If you're going to change it, then make sure you put ample amount of marketing to ensure that you reach the masses.
Right.
I think part of the problem with ReCore, and this is a problem that most games have, and Quantum Break especially had this problem, was it was announced way too early. Where Quantum Break was announced back in 2013 to come out in 2016, and that's way too long of a time frame to be sitting around in people's minds, because after a while your expectations kind of get out of control. And with ReCore, like for it being such a small title, it should have probably been announced this year at E3, and then it was going to come out. But it should have been kept under wraps and focused on to not have these bugs and such. So I play the game. It's a lot of fun, but the bugs really are a hamper on it, and it's really annoying, and the load times are by far the most abysmal.
What's funny is that everybody kind of felt this game was going to be a disaster because of Mighty Number 9 with Inafune, and I just felt like they had so much time with the game. When is this thing got announced in 2014? Was it? Or was it 2014? I think when we first saw it. Was it 2015? Okay. So in 2015 they announced it. We got the trailer at E3. We didn't even get a trailer at E3. We just kind of got like little CGI things at E3, right? Yeah, and then they showed what they spoke more about it over time, and then we got the trailer with the little snippet of gameplay at this year's E3. They had it on the floor. I got a chance to play it, and I loved it. I enjoyed the game. Obviously, when you play a demo, you never actually play the full game, so you don't know what the loading times are like, and you don't know exactly where the bugs are in the game because you're just playing a sample size of the game. But I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was very old school and it was very fun. But in the end, hearing all this negative feedback about the game, I really hope that those things are fixable, and they sound fixable. But the question is, if they are fixable, will reviewers go back and change their scores? Probably not. And if it's on Metacritic,
it wouldn't matter.
That's what I'm saying. The things are all Metacritic. You have so many people that base their their purchases off Metacritic. I mean, we all hear the fanboys, oh, you don't have a game over 90, or this game is a 60. Even if IGN gave it a 90 or GameSpot gave it a 100, it doesn't matter. The game scored poorly overall in a consensus. So it's kind of disappointing. But I just want to ask you guys a question. Not looking at all these reviews, not looking at Metacritic, because the only person that could judge a game is you yourself, whether you like it or not, whether it was worth the purchase or not. But sometimes you still want to get some feedback. Name 3 websites you trust, not your own website, but 3 websites you trust that will give you the feedback that you're looking for your reviews. And do you think that Metacritic should maybe focus on a smaller group of people instead of having such a wide range of anybody damn near can be on Metacritic at this point and just throw reviews out?
This has been a problem. I know I personally have I've argued with it with myself before. Like, I don't think we should count Forbes for review scores, or I think there's a lot of, or like Time Magazine, where it's like, you guys are kind of, you have the viewer base, but they're not necessarily gamers per se. You're not really known as a gaming publication. And I'm not trying to discredit their opinion per se, as much as saying it's like, all right, I don't know how to feel about this one in particular. But when it comes down to it, whenever I do have to look at other people's opinions, I only trust 3 real people. I used to trust Rev3 with Adam Sessler, but since he retired, I was like, well, I'm done. I'm out of here. But since then, there's 3 places I'll take a look at. I'll look at what Danny O'Dwyer has to say about it from GameSpot, who also retired from GameSpot. I'll look at Jimquisition, and I'll look at Angry Centaur reviews. Or gaming, Angry Centaur Gaming, over on YouTube. He puts out great in-depth reviews, talks about every facet of the game, says if it's fun, if it's worth your money, and does a basic buy, wait, sale, or rent. And that's it. That's all I need.
Bella?
Well, I don't actually trust anybody to give me a review of a video game, because nobody's me. Nobody's going to play it the same way I play it, and nobody's going to expect out of it what I expect out of it. I don't read reviews before I play a game. I do a bit of research before release. I get all the information that I can about it. If I'm not buying it day one based on the information that I get given prior to release, I'll watch a streamer who I know plays a lot of games that I like and is similar kind of gameplay style to myself, and watch them play a little bit of the game, and then make my decision to purchase from there. But I won't read reviews before I play a game. I believe it taints my experience offhand.
Gotcha. It's funny that you say that, because I'm similar. I posed this question trying to figure out who I could trust, like who would I choose out of the 3. And honestly, you know who I used to trust? Game trailers. I used to trust game trailers. I used to go to their website and I used to watch their reviews, their video reviews. And I used to love it. I used to love how in-depth it was and things like that. And I really valued their opinions, because I always felt like they weren't like nitpicky. They weren't petty in their review. They didn't try to find the smallest denominator to make the game less than what it actually is. They kind of gave it to you straight up, like, this is a good game and you should get it, or this is a bad game and you shouldn't get it. I mean, from there, it's hard to judge other sites. It really is, you know. And it's not to say that anyone is biased. I am not calling out any other site and saying that they're biased. All I'm saying is that it's just hard to judge because you just never know who has an agenda.
But I'm not sure you could say it's a site, though. That's the thing, because like a site is just a platform. It's the individual reviewer itself, where they're looking for things you're looking for. Like that's why like I don't like. It's not that I don't trust anybody else. It's mostly that. All right, I like stealth games, and so I'm going to look for someone who likes stealth games like I do, and they like the same kind of stuff I do. So I know that they're going to the new games that come out, and they'll give me a fair assessment of it based on things that I like and that they like. So I mean,
yeah, but my thing is this: remember the dude who reviewed Quantum Break, and he was like, he don't like third-person shooters.
Yeah, and that's why I can't say, I don't trust
Giant Bomb
for that.
But that's what I'm talking about. What if you run into that guy? What if that guy exists? What if that guy is the PlayStation fanboy that gets the Xbox game? These people exist, and it's hard to sit up there and think someone is giving you an honest review when in actuality there may be a bias behind it. And I hate to say that, but we're all human beings, and everybody has a preference in what they like and love and stuff like that. You know, that's why at TICGN, I'm really glad that we have the people who review titles are accustomed to the consoles that they play. And nobody is fanboying over a particular title. We're not handing over, Forza to the Forza fanboy and things like that. I think it's really important that other sites should do the same thing, that you have somebody that has experience where they can compare it to other games of that genre while also being objective in their review and not completely fanboying out. It's a very hard thing to do. It's very hard to review games. It really is, and then be taken seriously at the same time. So,
yeah, one thing that we've started doing, which I think gamers are really appreciating, is we're getting dual opinions. So we're getting two of our members to go away and play the game and come back with their opinions, and then put their side-by-side opinions together in that, so that you're not just getting one person's outlook on it, you're getting two very different people's experiences with the game and what they did and didn't like about it. So it kind of gives you like a night and day kind of aspect to it as well. So you're not just basing your opinion on one person's experience. You're seeing how two very different gamers experienced the game and what they thought of it, as opposed to them actually reviewing it. They're just giving their opinions on it.
Yeah, we do. We don't have the dual opinions. It's really important though, and I do like that idea, and I'm glad you guys do that, because it's super important that you're not just getting one person's point of view. But one of the things that I like that we do is that we kind of like break things down. You know, we're not just going to shove this whole pie to you and have you eat it. We're going to give you a slice at a time and make you understand the reason why the scores are the way they are and the reason why our reviewer feels the way he feels for the game and why it got that review score. So you're like, you know, why did this person give this thing such a low score? And you can actually see what is pulling the game down bit by bit. Very interesting, man. But I definitely look forward to ReCore. I can't wait to pick it up. And I will definitely be picking that up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had a blast playing the game. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, there's a few bug problems, and it's kind of like one of those old. It's kind of like a Legend of Zelda mixed with like a platformer, like a Banjo-Kazooie collectible kind of game.
Right.
It's a little different though. I don't know.
Gotcha. One of the things that recently came out, Anchorman was just talking to me about it a little bit earlier, was Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, which is supposed to be coming with the new Infinite Warfare, may possibly get a separate release on its own, based on a conversation that recently happened where one of the guys slipped up and said that there's a possibility the game may get its own separate release. I don't know if that's a good thing for Activision. I don't know if that's a good thing for those guys, because really a lot of people planned on getting this game just to get their hands on Call of Duty 4. So what is your take on this? Do you think this is a smart decision, and does it hurt Infinite Warfare?
First, let me actually say what the person stated. This is a statement by David Pellis from Raven Software at the Call of Duty XP event when they were asking about the maps and such, because they said there were only going to be 10 of the original maps were going to be available at launch, and that they were going to bring the other 6 later. They were talking about, this is what he said in response to that question. He says, "What we announced before today is that we were going to do 10 maps on launch, and that's still true. The announcement today is that the 6 remaining maps we are actually going to be delivering to anyone who purchases Modern Warfare Remastered, anyone who owns it, or a version of Infinite Warfare that comes with it. They're going to get all 16 of the maps at no additional cost." And so using that qualifier, or anyone who owns Infinite Warfare, makes it sound like it's a separate deal, that, oh, you are going to be able to buy this separately. And so that's the context of what the situation was.
Okay, I don't know, man. That's kind of thin. You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, I look at it from this perspective. When I first saw Modern Warfare, I was immediately turned off. You know, I really wanted something where they got back to the roots. I didn't want World War II, but I definitely wanted something that got back to its roots. I mean, I'm just absolutely tired of World War II. I don't care if a World War II game hasn't come out in 10 years. I just do not want to play a World War II game. Then Battlefield 1 showed itself, and it looked so unique, and it was World War I. I've never played a World War I game, and I would complain about that as well. But the fact that they introduced horses and these tanks and these, you know, single engine planes, I was really excited about it. And I just like, man, I want to try the game out. And I get my hands on the game, and I'm not really impressed with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that it was a bad game. It just didn't feel Modern Warfare-ish. A lot of people say that it's similar to Star Wars Battlefront. And in my mind, in that one instance, I said to myself, Call of Duty just got back in the race. Like, it really did just get back in the race. And now I'm wondering if it is possible, if it is true that they may sell the remastered version of Modern Warfare separately. Does that damage the sales of that game? Bella, you are the Call of Duty goddess. Tell us your thoughts.
Okay, so look, this is how I say it. No, I don't think it's going to affect the sales of Infinite Warfare, because whilst they will sell the remaster separately, they're not going to do that on launch. It's probably going to be about February, is my guess, where you'll be able to purchase that individually. So for your pre-order bonus with getting the remaster, you will then have the ability to be among the people who, for the first 2 to 3 months, get to play that remaster online. It's just like with every other pre-order bonus that's ever happened with Call of Duty. You get it as an exclusive thing initially. Then after the whole, it's like the honeymoon period of you getting to play it first is over, they then release it to everybody else to be able to purchase. And that's what's going to happen with this remaster. It's not going to affect the sales of Infinite Warfare initially. I mean, down the track after February, you might see a little bit of a drop-off of where people who hadn't already bought it decide to not pick it up. But by that stage, they're not going to not pick it up because they can buy the remaster separately. They're going to not pick it up because they've seen so much of the game out in the wild and read so many reviews and listened to all of their friends' opinions on the game that they're going to make a decision for themselves as to whether they're going to buy Infinite Warfare or not. It's going to have nothing to do with the remaster. The remaster itself is a touch of brilliance, really, for them to bundle it with the game, because they knew even if they couldn't sell it, even if they could not ship this concept of Infinite Warfare, that the remaster was going to sell it. So, and the more pardon?
And it's an inflated price. Like, if you just pre-order Call of Duty right now, you don't get it. You have to pre-order the special edition. That's $80.
Yeah, the Legacy Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to sell. Regardless, it's going to sell. And there are probably going to be more people on day one playing the remaster than there is playing Infinite Warfare. And I think not because it's more popular or because the appeal isn't there for it, but because the majority of people who want to delve straight into Infinite Warfare are most likely going to go for the campaign first and try and clock that. So you're going to see a lot more people on the multiplayer servers of the remaster than you probably will on Infinite Warfare.
I mean, I'm excited just to play Modern Warfare again, be honest with you. I'm like super excited to play it, but I did not want to spend $80 on, on Infinite Warfare just to play Modern Warfare. It's crazy. I stopped playing Call of Duties after like Modern Warfare, what was it, 4? I don't know, 2, something like that. I don't know, one of those games. I didn't pick up Black Ops. I didn't pick up Ghost. I got Advanced Warfare, and I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the multiplayer as much, but I enjoyed the single-player campaign. And for me, I am not a fan of military shooters. For some reason, I can play every shooter in the book. Literally, I was playing Destiny earlier. Halo, Overwatch, I can play those type of games.
So you basically played Infinite Warfare today already then?
Yeah, pretty much, right? but at the end of the day, I just can't, for some apparent reason, I can't get into the campaigns of military shooters. Like, I really tried to play Battlefield 4 and literally just stopped when I was in China. I don't even know where they go after that. Like, I just don't. So it just was something where I only played it for the multiplayer, but even then that got so repetitive and boring that I just stopped playing. So, once they start coming out with this futuristic versions, I got excited about it. But then Titanfall came out, and I was all about Titanfall. You couldn't tell me nothing about Titanfall. I was all about Titanfall. And then Titanfall reverted back to Call of Duty. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is going on? It lost that uniqueness to me. So I don't know, man. I'm excited about Modern Warfare's remaster. I want to pick it up, but I just don't want to spend the money for it. And of course, like you said, I think fans will buy Call of Duty because it's Call of Duty. It has its own tournament. It doesn't matter what they put out. It doesn't matter how many fans hate it. It doesn't matter how many downvotes it got on YouTube. That thing is going to sell like gangbusters as usual, and it will probably sell more than Battlefield 1.
Yeah, and it happens every single year. And all the people who spend the 9 months leading up to the release after the 3-month reveal at the beginning of the year that complain about it and say that it looks like it's Halo or it looks like it's this and I'm not going to buy it are the people that are always there playing it on day one.
Right.
The thing is with Call of Duty, and I think that the reason why we see the hate grow year in and year out is it's moving further and further away every year from what it was. Call of Duty had a winning formula because it was something that it immersed you into that experience. It made you feel like you were a part of the battle. It made you feel like you were there on the ground fighting with the troops, winning these battles, and you're not getting that feeling anymore. We're moving away from these maps that were landscapes with all the tall grass you could hide in and all these abandoned buildings and stuff like that to candy shops and paintball rooms and fluorescent bloody horrid iridescent glowing shit. This isn't Call of Duty. This isn't Call of Duty for most of us, because most of us are used to being in camouflage, hiding in trenches, taking out people with sniper rifles. Like, whilst it's obviously still Call of Duty, it's not to us the Call of Duty that we used to play and that we loved. And as it evolves, which naturally it's going to have to because it's a franchise and they literally can't release the same thing every year, as it's evolving, it's turning into its own beast. It's no longer, I just don't think that it's Call of Duty anymore. It's got that same base mechanics to it, but all the fluff and padding and layers and microtransactions that they're just shoving in there to fill up the rest of the space is really changing the whole dynamics of the game. And that is where a lot of hate for the franchise is coming from. People want to see it get back to what it was. And the other thing is, like, we have the people who complain, oh, every year it's a copy and paste. Well, yeah, every year it's a copy and paste because it's a winning bloody formula. It's what everybody wants. And now, instead of taking that winning formula and copy and pasting it and just changing the aesthetics and the maps, they're now taking just the base mechanics of it and just adding all of this other random stuff. And like, let's add some jetpacks. And, hey, let's go to outer space. Hey, how do you feel about fluorescent pink? It's...
I think you're onto something here, though. I mean, the issue, though, I think a lot of it has to do with franchise fatigue. And not that the franchise is weak, but the people are tired of it. The fact that Call of Duty comes out every year, it's not the game's fault per se as much as it is we're just tired. And that's why I already committed. I'm going to buy the next Assassin's Creed game simply because they didn't have one this year.
And I think that's a big reason why I stopped buying Call of Duty. Just like I stopped buying Maddens. They come out every year. And like Madden.
we're tired.
It's the publisher's fault don't get me wrong. Listen, and I have the same argument when it comes to Halo and when it comes to Forza and when it comes to Gears of War. If you have a game as a business, no matter what you do, you put that game out, whether the casuals or the hardcore buy it, millions and millions and millions of people buy this game. That is millions and millions or even billions of dollars, especially once you add in those microtransactions. That is billions of dollars coming from one franchise. So you put one out every year. Every year you are making hand over fist money. And I get that. But at the same time, you really fatigue the franchise. You just have people that just get tired of it, even if it's something new. One of the biggest things that a lot of the Sony fanboys always talk about, well, Microsoft only pumps out Forza, Halo, Gears. It doesn't matter that it's Forza Horizon. It doesn't matter that it's a different type of Halo. And it doesn't matter that this is a new Gears. It's just the same name of that franchise. And when people see that, they want to stay away from it. They want to hate on it. So I think with Call of Duty is kind of similar, where it's like, even if it's a different team, even if it's a different game with a different setting, it's still Call of Duty, and it's still coming out every single year. And for some people, that right there has made it get a negative connotation behind it.
I think it's
the other thing that... No, by all means.
All right.
Are you sure? Because you can go, I can go, you can go, you go.
All I was going to say, to bring up a point that you brought up earlier, Bella, about the major aspect of Call of Duty that made it win is namely multiplayer, known fact. And the multiplayer benefited in being small, pretty much 1v1 shooter, small conflict battles. It's like 6v6 TDM or Search and Destroy or something like that. It's very small scale, but quick gunplay was the major thing that made it fun.
Right, Twitch shooter.
And the problem with Call of Duty was they started moving away from that. And I'm not against going into the future, but there's a point where you start mechanizing stuff where it's like, we don't want to play as drones. We don't want to play drone combat. We want to do man versus man kind of combat. Like human being versus human being scenario. And when we started doing more of a drone aspect, and that's the issue with the future stuff, where everything became so automized, like now we're zipping across the map with exosuits or whatever, it lost that feeling to it of you're human going against another person, and it's about skill rather than tech.
Yeah. Well,
I have two main issues with the direction that Call of Duty is going in at the moment. And my first issue with it, and I think that this is where a lot of people are having a problem relating and connecting with the new instances of Call of Duty, is that we've gone from a 2-year development cycle, switching between 2 studios, to now we've got 3 studios in the mix. And they're all taking their different tack on things, and they're all trying to, put their heads above the previous installment and show themselves as being the premier development studio of Call of Duty. So whilst that does add a little bit of freshness into the mix every year, it's also breaking in a consistency in the franchise. And I think that a lot of gamers are having trouble connecting back to the franchise because of that. The other issue that then creates is, so with a game when it releases, the funds that come in from it have to be divided up between the development studio, the publishers, there's just a million different places the money has to go to. But microtransactions, every cent of that goes to the development studio. Now, you used to have 2 studios competing for their 24 monthly amount of microtransactions that they could drench out of the community. And now they're having to span that out over 3 years. And this is why over the last 2 installments of Call of Duty, the games have just been absolutely saturated in microtransactions. You nearly can't reload your gun without having to buy a microtransaction. It's ridiculous. It's insane. And it's because these studios now realize that they're going to have to make up for the lost income that they're getting now over a 3-year period instead of a 2-year period. So we just have these 2 new dynamics in play, where we have all this inconsistency year in, year out, plus a flood of microtransactions and less of a focus on the initial content in the game. My main issue with Call of Duty, though, is that they seem to have forgotten one of the most important aspects of the game. And it's not the content itself. It is the community interaction with it. It is clan play. It is people getting together as a group of friends and competing against other clans. I mean, one of the things that Treyarch used to do really well, and for some reason this year they just decided, fuck it, we're not going to do it. They used to do clan ops. So they would have like a 3-hour block of time set for every week.
So much
and
fun.
You would jump on and you would play like non-stop game after game after game, and you would push as hard as you possibly could. Now, for me over here as a clan leader in Australia, that was a 3 a.m. start.
Right.
But we did it every Sunday morning. We'd all wake up at 2:30 on Sunday. We'd get together. I'd run off 3 different teams. We'd all go and we would push as hard as you possibly could, because the scores from the 6 top people from your clan are what we count. I mean, I remember there was one morning that I was that sick. I think I had food poisoning. I was still awake, and it's like 2:30's rocked around. I'm like, oh my God, clan wars are on. I can't let the team down. We've got to do this. You know, we're in the top 2% in the world. We've got to keep our score. I sat there and played for 3 hours with a bucket next to me. And it's because the game was that compelling, and the interaction that you have with your clan members and how hard we all work together, the bonding. Like the team bonding that would go on at that hour of the morning when you're delirious because you've had no sleep. Like those things, those are some really good times. And our clan misses it dramatically, and I know a lot of other clans do. That kind of interaction and addition to the game is absolutely paramount. It is so important. And they moved away from it. For some reason, they stopped doing it, and they went to this clan war shit, which required you to be basically playing around the clock for a week, which is fine if you're 13 and you don't have a job and you don't go to school. But the rest of us actually have responsibilities, and we can't be home playing Call of Duty all day, every day. And now this year, they haven't even implemented it. So, yeah, it's great if you're on a pension or if you've got no job. Fantastic. You're going to do well. The rest of us, we're fucked.
Bella just vented. She just
I
went
definitely
off.
agree with you. I did the same thing.
She just went off. We have to move on to the next topic. She just went off on Activision. Activision, please stay away from Bella Rise. You have a problem on your hands. Okay. So I gotta talk about.
No, she's right though. I mean, she's totally right though. I mean, we used to do Call of Duty clan ops. It was all fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. My clan also did. They did the ghost tournaments and stuff like that. So pretty crazy.
Hashtag bring back clan ops.
Yeah. So listen, I got to talk about these Sony fanboys. I don't talk about fanboys. I don't even get into the fanboy stuff. I really don't. You guys already know what Tick Podcast is about. We don't do the hate. We don't do the rage, and we don't do any type of fanboy nonsense. But this is getting a bit ridiculous at this point. PlayStation Pro recently was announced. They have a date. They showed the specs. We all know what it is. We all know what they are trying to present. It is supposedly a premium device, PlayStation 4. A lot of people kind of have gotten on Sony because they didn't include a UHD drive in their PlayStation 4. And for a premium device, you would expect that, especially from Sony being the number one, I guess you could say, company when it comes to adding formats and being a leader when it comes to formats and not having a ultra high definition Blu-ray player in your console. It's just a bit weird, but it's not a game breaker. It's not a game breaker. I said this on my last Super Pod Shots that what people have to remember is that this console is still 3 times more powerful than both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. And if you want more power, when that console releases, it will be the most powerful console on the market. And for 365 days, that is the console to get if you are a hardcore gamer and don't care about 4K physical disc playback. With that being said, the PlayStation fans themselves have now moved on from the PlayStation Pro to the PS5. I am not understanding how have they moved on from the PlayStation 4 Pro to the PS5 and looking forward to a 2018 release of the PlayStation 5 when they literally have released the PlayStation 4 Pro 2 years earlier. This doesn't even make sense. And don't get me wrong, this is a rumor. This is a rumor. This is not a fact. This is just some guy who said that, you know, he believes that a PlayStation 5 is in the works. It's going to release in 2018, and that's going to be, it's going to be more powerful than Scorpio, yada, 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 yada. I'm not comprehending this, and I don't think this is a very smart move. Let's just say this is true. I don't think this is a very smart move for Sony. Not at all. Not at all. And for so long, so many fans talked about how Microsoft announcing the Slim and announcing the Pro at the same show was a negative, and it would hurt the sales, and people are going to be left behind, and they're going to be upset because they have to spend more money on these consoles. You think people will be upset because of that? Let Sony drop a Slim, a PlayStation 4 Pro this year, and 2 years later, drop the PlayStation 5, which has better specs than the Pro. What type of feedback you get, even from the casual and hardcore PlayStation fans? This is insane. Anchor, thoughts?
First of all, let's talk about PlayStation 5. The concept. I don't think they'll do anything until 2019. And the reason why is they view the PlayStation Pro's release as the marking of the midpoint of the generation. If you look at the prior statements by House and such, they're looking at it as a competition with PC. And they're saying that having the Pro release would combat the people who are looking for more power. And so they're looking at it as, all right, it's the midpoint where we start losing people. We want to gather people and bring them back up with the Pro. And then traditionally, if they consider this the halfway point, that would make it 3 years from now. So 2019 would be for the PlayStation 5. For the stuff I heard it was people were banking on hearing rumors by 2018 of the PS5 just so they could have something to fight with. Like, I didn't hear anyone saying it was coming 2018. All I heard was, by the PlayStation, the Scorpio come out, and then 2017, 2018, we'll start hearing rumors about the PlayStation 5, and then it'll come out.
Here's the thing, like, the idea,
desperate for rumor.
But the idea, here's the idea. This is what they're banking on. This is what I've been reading. This is what they're banking on. They're banking on the thought that PlayStation 5 may come out a year after the Xbox One Scorpio, and people won't buy Scorpio because they'll want PS5 because it's more powerful. Yet, for some odd reason, because the PlayStation 4 Pro is going to release this year, no one will buy the Scorpio because they'll be satisfied with the PlayStation 4 Pro. I'm confused at this point.
Yeah.
You want to hear my thoughts on this? Are you sure?
Yes. I want to hear your thoughts. I got to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So let me start by saying about 8 or 9 months ago, I actually put out an opinion piece where I stated that we would be hearing by the very latest news of the next generation of consoles by 2018 for a 2000 release. The companies are actually jumping ahead of that and going much quicker than what I anticipated they were. I got torn to shreds. People were so upset over the idea that we might have another generation of console gaming come into play so soon. Turns out not only was I right, but it's happening faster than I predicted. Now, the other thing that really bothers me about people looking forward, and not looking forward personally, but looking forward into the future to things like the PlayStation 5 and next iteration of console gaming, is that we've just had the Xbox One S come into the market, which for me, there are many issues with the way that this has been gone about. And primarily, I see the Xbox One S as just being a stepping stone to encourage people to buy 4K TVs.
Right.
Which is going to get them 4K ready for the Scorpio. If you don't have a 4K TV, then there is absolutely no necessity to own an Xbox One S unless you currently don't own an Xbox One or the one you have breaks, then yes, it makes sense to buy the Xbox One S. Outside of that, there's absolutely no necessity for it whatsoever. We have basically bridge consoles coming in at the moment to bridge us through to the Scorpio and to the PS5. Not only is that generating a shit ton of revenue for both companies, but it's also giving the fanboys on both sides more fuel for them to stoke their fires and run around with pitchforks saying, hey, the specs are better here. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't matter where the specs are better. You're going to play where you're going to game, not because you have a piece of paper that tells you the particular specs of this console are better than the other. You're going to play there because that's where your friends are. And if you're that one person who is playing on, and I say one person that's playing on an Xbox or a PlayStation purely because the specs are better, not because you like the exclusive games better or your friends are on that console or whatever, then pity you, silly you, make some better choices with your money.
You know what's crazy, though? I can tell you right now, there's a million of those people. A million of them. There are so many people that have left Xbox just based on the fact that the PlayStation 4 had more 1080p games than the Xbox One was a big deal. And that alone... The irony is
most people can't even tell the difference between 1080p upscale and not. It's insane.
You know, just based on that alone, just lets you know that people do care about specs, and so many casuals have jumped on the spec bandwagon. The whole industry has changed in an instant. This one generation has changed the way both developers and gamers look at games. For some of us who are older, who grew up on the Genesis and the Super Nintendos and made it all about the games, because back then, all we knew was 16-bit. We didn't care about resolution. We didn't care about frames per second. We only cared about Sonic and Mario. You know what I'm saying? That's what mattered. And it's the truth. And now we're in a space where consoles are becoming more PC-like, more hybrid-like, and you're going into a realm that normally only a PC gamer would know. And now you're making console gamers understand what resolution is and how it plays a role, what frames per second is and how it plays a role. And whichever console does what better, a lot of times that's where third parties go, because it's easier to work on that particular console, especially if the API is easy to work with. That's why Sony was able to get most games done on PS4 first, because it's just easier to work with their unified system than it is to work with Microsoft and their ESRAM. If Microsoft was able to then turn around, make it easier to work on the Xbox Scorpio with the UWP, which I'm not sure if that is going to be something that is easy for developers. I mean, just based on what we've gotten so far with some of the PC titles that have released. But if they do figure out a way to get it working where it's very easy and you can just upscale and downscale and port games over from PC to the Xbox console, that may be something that plays in Microsoft's favor, especially having the higher spec console. And you'll be surprised at how many third people and how many people start jumping on that bandwagon to get on the Xbox to use that power much sooner. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of casuals who jump to PlayStation jump right back to Xbox, the Xbox Scorpio, which, by the way, a lot of people don't realize Xbox Scorpio is an Xbox One. It may not be named an Xbox One, but it's a part of the Xbox One family. It's not a new generation. It's not a new console in that regard.
Exactly. And I think what's more concerning is, when did it actually stop being about the games? Like, aren't we all here because that's what we love? Like, we love playing video games. We love talking about video games. When did the shift happen in the gaming community where it no longer really mattered about what game you were playing and how much fun you were having, but it was more of a case of what console you're playing it on and what resolution the game's running at and what frame rate it's in? And when did that become the focus? Like, how have we as a gaming community moved away from our passion of actually playing video games to running around with pitchforks screaming that we have better stats and better specs than the other console? Like, this should never have been a thing. And I do blame Sony and Microsoft for a lot of it, because they're putting such a focus in their marketing on all of these particular things, you know, the 4K gaming and VR experiences, the whole lot. All it's doing is moving gamers away from having conversations about games, and now we're having conversations about consoles and specs and you know, what TV we're going to need to buy to be able to play the same games that we've been playing for years. I think it's just ridiculous. We should be talking about the games.
I don't know. When it comes down to this sort of stuff, I really don't. When it comes to graphics in particular, though, I really don't get involved. And I said this before earlier today, and I look at it as long as the game runs well and it doesn't look like crap, I'm happy with it. And I just don't. A lot of this comes down to people looking for anything to have on anyone else, and they're looking for talking points. They're looking for anything that can make themselves look better than someone else. And I was talking about this I was talking about this earlier, and specifically the whole power argument and how at the beginning of this generation it was PlayStation's more powerful, the Xbox sucks, yada yada yada. And the PlayStation guys are making the whole case for 1080p 60, it's gonna be every game's gonna be 1080p 60 or whatever. And a lot of games ended up being sub 60 frames. Well, pretty much most of them were. And a couple games were even not even 1080p on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And as soon as that argument didn't work anymore, as soon as it wasn't beneficial to them, they switched. As soon as Scorpio was announced, they were like, oh crap, we can't claim the most powerful anymore. It's all about the games now. It doesn't matter anymore. And the Xbox guys did the same thing. They switched from the games argument to, oh, we have more powerful. It's more powerful.
Or the teraflops debacle. Well, we're going to have 6 teraflops. Do you even know what a motherfucking teraflop is? No, you don't. Sit down.
It's just funny, man. Overall, just the back and forth between fans and who can one-up each other. And it's disappointing because I think the developers feel that. They get that. They get that feedback. They get that negative feedback. You have guys like Digital Foundry and you got Gaming Bolt, and they're running all these tests and who has what pixels and what, who's doing what resolution and who has screen tearing. Like it's come to a point to where every little thing now determines the quality of a game other than the damn game itself.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing that it's turned out that way. And
it's meant
really
to be about your
sad.
experience. It's meant to be about you having even an emotional connection with the game. There are some games that we all know. There's none of us amongst us here that haven't played a video game at one point that's reduced us to tears, either tears of happiness or tears that are genuinely sad because one of the main characters has died. Like, it's about having that emotional connection with the game, about becoming immersed in that universe that it creates and losing time and checking the clock and realizing, oh, damn, I thought I was playing for an hour, but turns out I've been playing for 6 hours. Or
right.
The sun all of a sudden is coming up and you didn't even realize because you've been having so much fun and you're so engrossed in that universe that nothing outside of it matters. Those are the experiences that make us so passionate about gaming. Mm-hmm. Those are the experiences that we should be focusing on as a community and sharing our joy of that with other gamers, not arguing with them about whether our piece of plastic has more bits and pieces shoved into it than your piece of plastic.
Right. Totally agree. Absolutely agree. It's just weird, man. It's just trying to one-up each other. Now that the PS4 Pro hasn't changed its specs, it's been exactly what they showed when the specs leaked the first time. It's been exactly that from day one. And now Microsoft has an entire year to either increase specs if they want to, which myself, Anchor, B-Money, we kind of sort of believe that based on some of the hearings that Anchorman overheard with AMD at E3. But we believe that it's going to be a bit higher than 6 teraflops. Microsoft is working on some stuff. But at the end of the day, man, people looking past Scorpio before it's even released, and now we're looking forward to PS5. Like, it's just, to me, it's insane. It's almost like saying that Xbox fans should look past Scorpio and look to whatever they're going to release after PS5, which will probably be the following year.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine to look forward to that, but make sure you've got money for an 8K TV because that's what you're going to need.
It's insane. I don't even understand this fanboy rhetoric stuff, man. People should just play games enjoying great content that's coming out this holiday season. A lot of awesome indie games. A lot of awesome. Jotun? Oh my God. Have you played Jotun?
I've seen some footage of it. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it looks so good.
Great game. Great game. Shout out to Demi, who is one of our reviewers over at TICGN. He gave it a great review. Got me interested in the game. I picked it up. It's really good. Really great. Really awesome game.
Oh, Demigod?
Yeah. No, not Demi. Yeah, was it
Demigod Reviews?
Demigod Reviews, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, he does good work.
Yeah. So, continuing with the Scorpio subject, Shannon Loftus had an interview with USA Today. And she said some stuff which, in my opinion, is not really a shot at Sony, but it's still a kind of like a slap to Sony in a way, where she says that Microsoft is working on games that when they release, any games that release around the same time as Scorpio, when they hit the Scorpio platform, will be 4K native. That to me says a lot about what Microsoft is doing with their console. You know, you can say whatever you want about how many teraflops is in the console, what it can do and what it can't do. Only they know what they're working on and what benchmarks they're hitting. And if for whatever reason they believe they can get the Forza 7 or whatever other titles they have coming out around that time, maybe Scalebound, maybe a few others to hit 4K, whether it's 30 or 60 frames per second, they're going to hit it. And that's big. That's big because Sony is talking about upscale more than actually hitting native. So if Microsoft's first party is hitting 4K and they still have the graphic fidelity that people want, whether it's that medium to high, that's a big difference. And it shows what Microsoft is trying to do with their console in the direction of what Sony is doing with their console.
I don't know. All I'm hearing is we are going to have 4K launch titles. Not we are going to have 4K games consistently, like you're going to have a big catalog of 4K games native to choose from. What I'm hearing from that statement is we're going to have 4K launch titles.
What I'm hearing from that statement is that all Xbox games will be 4K.
Yeah, see, I'm not getting the same thing from that. I'm getting the fact that all games will have the ability to be 4K, and it is up to the development studio whether they utilize that or not, and that they will make sure that they have a library of games on launch that will be 4K.
Let me adjust what I mean by that. What I mean is that all Xbox exclusive titles will be 4K. And that's what they're going for. You know, the Halos, the Forzas, the Gears, you know, whatever else they have coming out in the future, all those titles, they're trying to reach 4K and still keep such a high graphic fidelity with those titles. Now, of course, third party, they came right out the gate and said when it comes to third party games that they leave that up to the developer. If the developer can hit 4K and have the fidelity and the frames per second in the games they want, then go ahead and go for 4K. But if you feel like you can take those resources and put it into more textures, more, making the game just look better, more effects, more objects on screen, if that's what you want to do with it, you can, and lock it in at 1080p, 30 or 60 frames per second, you can do that. But my understanding, Microsoft is going for 4K on all their titles. Anything coming out of Microsoft Studios is probably going to be 4K.
And I hope so. I hope so, because there are a lot of people that are going to be running out buying 4K TVs expecting a 4K experience. So I hope for their sake that that is what they get.
Yeah. It's definitely something that people will be watching big time because they've said a lot of things. They have a lot of things to live up to. You know, we're still waiting on Crackdown for the cloud processed, the cloud compute game. We're still waiting on that. And, we're still waiting on a few things when it comes to the actual Xbox One itself and for them to live up to some of the things that they said at release. So, I would hate for them to come out with this console and it doesn't meet the expectations that they set for themselves. But I believe that they'll make it. I think they'll get there by any means necessary. That's even increasing whatever they need to increase to get to that point for their titles. They plan to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's really good that this time round they're actually putting a real strong focus on making people understand that it is going to be up to the developers to choose whether they go with 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second, that they are going to have the option to tailor those specs to suit the needs of the game and ensuring that it runs at the most optimal performance it can, as opposed to, trying to just push it out on 60 because that's a benchmark that the gaming community has put as the minimum that they will expect. And it's something that a lot of gamers just don't seem to understand, is that not all games can run effectively at 60 FPS. It's not just a case of putting a little bit of extra work in or cranking up a notch here or there. If you push something beyond its boundaries, you actually compromise the effectiveness of other things like your graphic fidelity in the game just to have 60 FPS. So it's really good to see a focus put on making gamers understand that there is going to be this variable in play. Don't expect everything to be 60 FPS because some things will actually run a lot better in 30.
Mm-hmm. Anchor? No, I mean, it's leaving it up to developers is important because I think it's kind of up to them to how they want to use that extra horsepower. And I find it really funny that now we're fine with this. Now we're okay with letting developers make these choices. When or just early this generation, like we had documents where Sony was going around telling all the developers that are like, hey, it better be 1080p or bust. And only the big developers who couldn't do that were like, no, it'll be 1080. It won't be 1080p, but you'll still take it.
I don't know, man. Listen, me personally, I'm looking forward to the Scorpio. Not really even for 4K. I have a 4K television. In my opinion, HDR just makes everything better. It just really, really does. You'd be surprised how impressive HDR is after, watching a game or playing a game in a high dynamic range. But 4K does make games looks really impressive. If you have a 4K TV, the moment I got a 4K TV and I watched a 4K movie was the first time I actually recognized a difference in resolution. As a console gamer, it's hard for me to recognize something that's 720p upscaled to 1080 or 900 upscaled to 1080 because I don't care for resolution. I only care for the game. But actually watching something in 1080 in one instance and seeing it jump from that to 4K is a completely different story. So, it's all about trying to get there. You're talking about, 4 times the pixels when it comes to 4K gaming. We had Albert Pernillo on the show. If you guys haven't listened to the show, definitely go check it out. Inner Circle Special, Albert Pernillo, 4K 60 uncompromised. They spoke about that. They spoke about getting games at 4K 60 frames per second uncompromised at the graphic fidelity of what we have today. I think if you look at what we have today, what most games are on medium settings. On medium settings, I think most games you'll be able to get that. But if you can get 1080p with high settings, with a high fidelity, I would go for that. But if Microsoft feels that they can hit 4K on their titles with the console, then I'm all for it as well. I mean, I'm not sitting up here trying to say that specs aren't important. I've never said that. What I'm saying is that when it comes to gaming, games and what you're playing is more important than the specs themselves. However, specs play a role. Specs play a major role. You can have a game that's 25 frames. It drops below 25, 19 frames. Now you're bogged down. You're not even moving. You can't have that. You might have something that may look good, but it's cloudy in the distance. Certain things do play a role. But if the game is great, you could avoid all of that. You can bypass all that. But if you have all of that encompass it to one, it makes the game special. And that's where you want to hit that fine point. And if you're able to do that, if Microsoft is able to do that, then more power to them.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that's it for our show. You have something to leave off with?
No. I said I hope that they do.
Oh yeah, I definitely do.
Fingers
Anchor, any
crossed.
thoughts?
Toes, controllers, everything crossed.
Any thoughts before we head out?
No, I'm good.
Cool. So, as usual, we'll answer a few questions. We'll take 10 minutes on this before we head out. I want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight's show. I know it's a late show. We usually do our shows around 8 p.m. But, I got the new baby in this week, and I'm just trying to adjust. I'm trying to adjust to
the way you said that, it's like, I ordered it. It arrived last week. We just finished unpacking it. The new baby is here.
It really is like that. I said that. I hopped on Twitter. I said, hey, my daughter released today. I reviewed it. It's a 10 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? It's great. Definitely pick one up.
You and my boss both had kids on the same day.
That's amazing. The
problem with kids is they're DLC, and we're talking nappy region now, so you can have that.
No, it's definitely crazy. So just trying to adjust schedules here and make sure that we get a Tick podcast out for our listeners and our viewers and things like that. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in. We're going to go ahead and jump to questions. We're going to end the show for the MP3 crowd. Big shout out to those guys out there who listen to us MP3. We are very grateful for your support. So I'm your host, KLWar SKLL, the last on the planet Xbox. Make sure you tune in on Monday for Multiverse podcast where Ackerman V and Fame Entertainment. Tuesdays with Kid Smooth, Nicodemus, Fame Entertainment for the Writer's Block. Of course, you have me on Wednesdays with Super Pod Shots. And we alternate between Anchorman's show next week, which is Top Shelf, and our show, Tick Podcast, every other Friday. And keep it locked here to the Inner Circle Podcast Network. And make sure you go ahead and sign up at TICGN.com. I definitely want to thank Bella Rise for coming on the show, joining us from Real Game Media. Correct? Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I got that right. For some bad reason, I felt there was something else at the end. RGM. Make sure you check out realgamemedia.com, a really awesome site. That site is run by some really awesome people. Bella Rise, our old podcast friend, Mike Unified, as well as Digital Syrup. If you know him on Twitter, definitely check out RGM. Go ahead and support that website and support their podcast. So I'm your host, KLWar SKLL, the last on the planet Xbox, and we are off this planet. Peace. All right, now that show is over, I'm going to go ahead and answer a few questions. You guys have any questions to ask, go ahead and ask them now. We're going to try to knock out a few before we head out of here. I want to thank everyone for stopping in once again. Very grateful for the support as always. And I'm very grateful to have Miss Bella Rise here with us from Real Game Media. So let's see here. I'll Drain Your Soul says, if Scorpio hasn't got the games, what's the point? We are still waiting for Gears, Sea of Thieves, Scalebound, Crackdown 3. I don't get that. But here's the thing. So I believe all those games will be on Scorpio because they all release next year. Sea of Thieves comes out next year. Gears comes out. When is in October, I believe. You have Scalebound comes out next year. Crackdown 3. I don't know about Crackdown 3. I'm skeptical about Crackdown 3. I am at this point. We didn't see anything at E3. We didn't see anything at Gamescom. Microsoft is supposedly supposed to have a show later on this year, maybe next year. I don't know, but maybe Cloud didn't work out the way they wanted it to. Who knows? But if it does, if they do show it off and it does work, oh God, so much crow to be eaten. Would be insane. But yeah, all those games would be on Scorpio. So I mean, it's not that Microsoft doesn't have games. And I hate that people always say that. Well, there's no exclusives. Of course there are exclusives. You can't play them on PlayStation. You can't play them on Wii U. You only can play them on Windows 10. And on top of that, if you don't have a PC or you don't game on PC, the only other place you can play them is on consoles. So, yeah, Microsoft does have exclusives. They're console exclusives. And they're owned by Microsoft. So no matter where you buy them, you're supporting that brand. You're putting money in their pocket. And you're just going to have them make more games for us. So thank you. Let's see here. Other Zinc says, Gears 4, about 3 weeks. Where's God of War and Gran Turismo? I don't know.
Delayed.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, GT Sport got delayed till 2017.
Pending release on the delay station.
I mean, God of War does look good, but that won't be out until next year. I don't think God of War even got delayed.
That one was not delayed.
That wasn't.
They didn't give a release.
Yeah, no, definitely. But definitely going to be a while.
That Last Guardian delay, though, it's going to get another one, too. It's not coming out to 2017.
I'm firmly convinced that Last Guardian delay was just for fun.
Just be like,
Hey, you guys
oh
reviewed
yeah,
today,
we
right?
checked you. You thought we were releasing it. Joke's on you.
Oh my God, we're gonna have so many PlayStation fans ripping us on the comment section. It's gonna be crazy.
No, I mean, what was it? Someone actually wrote an article today. I think it was. Oh, I saw it today, and they said, I was like, what was it? The Last Guardian has officially overlapped the Obama administration.
Oh my god!
Like it went into development in 2007, and it will come out right at the end of his term.
That's crazy.
It's like wow.
I'll Drain Your Soul says, do you think the 12-month lead PS4 Pro will affect Scorpio? I don't think so.
Sure.
I've seen a ton of people. Do you think it'll affect it?
Yeah, everything affects something.
It'll just affect the MPDs.
I don't think it will. I think that PS4 Pro will sell. The PlayStation gamers who want to get it will get it. And anybody who doesn't have a PlayStation 4 will get it. But I think it's similar for Scorpio. I think it's the same way. I think that if you want to get an Xbox, and you didn't want to get an Xbox One because it was underpowered, and you felt that it wasn't worth the money, you can now get one that's overpowered and it's worth the money. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what fans will do. The thing that's funny is that everyone talks about, well, if it's $500, no one's going to buy it because by then PS4 Pro will be $299 or, whatever. I'm sitting up saying to myself, everyone complained about the Xbox One having Kinect being more expensive than the PlayStation 4 when it wasn't more powerful than the PS4. Now you have a console that's worth the money, and on top of that, at $500 is probably actually cheaper than building a PC with the same specs. And you might be able to get 4K fidelity in your gaming. At $500, that's a pretty good deal. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that are willing to go out and buy that console to get more native 4K games, especially if you get native 4K games with third party, because we all know people play more third party games than they do exclusives, and that's just a fact. So, I think that if you start seeing games come out like 2K and it's 4K on Xbox and it's upscaled on PlayStation, I'm just saying. I mean, if everybody complained about it this generation, why wouldn't people complain about it in the future?
Oh, they're always going to find something to complain about.
I know. Yeah. Let's see.
Hardcore casual gamers question saying, BioShock Collection or ReCore? I have both. I've been playing both, and sadly, I really don't like recommending remasters. And first of all, if you've never played BioShock, forget about ReCore. Go play BioShock. Just go do it right now. You get 3 games, $60. If you've never played it, go ahead and pick it up. For those of you that have played it, there's not a lot here unless you like really, really, really love the game to justify picking it up again. Other than they got the DLC, which there wasn't a lot of DLC that came out for these 3 games. So I mean, it's okay. They got some developer commentary you can find in the game. I consider it like at least the first game is remastered in as far as it's kind of like a legacy update. They don't change everything entirely. Like they keep the same designs for everything, but they fix a lot of the clunkiness of the last gen hardware. Like you guys know the portals where the little sisters come out of. Before, if they'd be kind of like these weird like decagonal things that you could see. They looked like hexagons or something like that. They're supposed to be circles. But in this one, it's all smoothed out. It looks nice, high polygon count. And that's pretty much it.
I played BioShock, and I love BioShock 1. I thought BioShock 1 was amazing. I didn't play 2, but I heard it wasn't that great. And as great as 3 was, when I got towards the end, it became predictable. For some apparent reason, literally about, 15 minutes before the end of the game, I already knew who the villain was. It was insane. I was like, dude, I know who it is. Like, I'm looking for that M. Night Shyamalan twist, and I didn't get it. And I guess the twist was right there in my face the whole time, but I don't know. Yeah. So for me, I would definitely pick up ReCore.
They were trying to psych you out in the third one. Yeah. That was the whole point. They were trying to I'm going to wait for it to switch. I'm going to wait for it. Like they were intentionally, they have choices that didn't really mean anything. And you thought you were making big choices, and that was, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's in Hardcore actually just clarify you never played BioShock. But yeah, honestly, if you're choosing between BioShock and ReCore, I'd wait till ReCore gets a nice good patch before picking it up.
I agree with that. If it's buggy like that, yeah. Bella, BioShock Collection or ReCore?
Well, it depends on how much value for money you want to get. Collection, you're getting multiple games. ReCore, you're getting one. BioShock, you're playing something you probably already played before. ReCore, you're getting something new. So it depends on what you want for your money, I guess. If you want something that you don't really mind if it's been out for a while, you haven't played it before, and you want to get like the most value for money out of every dollar, probably BioShock. If you want to play something that's fresh and new and see what new studios are bringing to the table, go ReCore.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to bring up something. Showan Watson, shout out to Showan, man. He said, did y'all see a certain exec from a certain company throw Hello Games under the bus? You know, I meant to talk about that tonight, which was, to me, just cold-blooded. It was terrible.
How does that go again?
Cold-blooded. It was crazy. No, but Shuhei Yoshida, you know, after Sony goes out and does all this promotion for No Man's Sky, and putting him on a late show, and you know, talking about how they're going to, kind of produce the game as if it was a first-party exclusive. The game comes out, doesn't live up to expectations. Everyone buys it, then everyone returns it, and it's crazy because I don't even know how that works. Like, if you bought the game, do you get the profits from it, but then they get returned? Do the profits go back, or do you keep those profits?
The way it works is what they end up doing is if you have a publisher and such, and I'm not really sure how it works with indie games, but when it goes into budgeting, you actually have to budget out your income, because you actually won't be, as soon as the game's released, you don't see any of that money for at least a month, sometimes 3 months. And you need to find a way to get that money back while you're waiting for you to get paid. And so you'll see something like a studio will release a game that does okay but still goes bankrupt because they didn't budget out that time. And so that's always a problem. Like, you don't get the money immediately. So them doing these returns, these are just things that Sean Murray will never see. They just don't exist to him. So it doesn't really matter. But that's how that works, at least. But I disagree. I don't think it was Shuhei throwing them under the bus per se. Really? Because, like, I understand, like, people are looking at it from the perspective of, oh, you were in bed with him and now you're out of it. I honestly believe he did the right thing, though. I think it was Sean screwed over so many people, and Hello Games really did. Specifically Sean Murray overpromised in that Molyneux style, promised way too much, and didn't deliver any on it. And actually, tomorrow will be the anniversary of his last tweet on Twitter. He has been completely undercover for 1 month.
Listen, you tell me you got a publisher. You got a publisher like Sony. Even I know firsthand when Microsoft deals with third-party studios, even indie studios, I have to go through Microsoft. Which means you're telling me that Sony did not give him the PR that he needed to keep him quiet for anything that he's talking about. If you're going to support a title and publish a title as if it was a first-party exclusive, you cannot then sit there and half-ass it and not give them the full backing of what you could do with any other title that would be first-party exclusive. So for him to go out and say the things that he says, and Sony allow him to say those things and feel like it's going to be this type of game, and then suddenly back away very slowly, like, whoa, who's the murderer in the room? That's throwing him under the bus. They should have been there to support that guy. They knew what they were getting into with him, and they just left him out there to dry. And now they're talking about bringing the game to Xbox. Really?
Well, keep in mind that with the way the developer worked, I was watching how it was going down. There was this thing like where that game got leaked out early, and a lot of people and the guys who got it really early were like, "Oh, this is totally different." And then they released like this weird super patch or something, and it completely changed the game at the last minute, like a week before launch. And people were like, "Oh, wow, it's way more complex than I thought it was." And so, I mean, for Sony, I mean, they probably knew about the little bit of development of it. I don't think they actually were like, sitting there watching and make sure everything you promised was actually in the game. Like, I don't think he is under that sort of scrutiny. But at the same time,
Hey,
I mean,
Anchor,
I think he
you're
messed
making
up.
me not trust you, bro. I don't trust you. I have somebody watching. You're not gonna throw me under the bus. You understand? And think it's okay.
No,
Anyway.
all I'm saying though is that Sean Murray made his own bed. Now he's got to lie in it. And Sony, yeah, they in some respect they said, yeah, you messed up, and they did the right thing here.
Okay.
And now in public they did the right thing. In private, probably not, because that means Hello Games is probably not going to do a deal with Sony anymore.
Guess they learned
this subject matter is an entire another podcast.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's another podcast. Showon Watson asks, "What does Tick think of the Phil Spencer era of Xbox so far?" Let's give me a quick sentence. Your thoughts, Bella.
I love the vision that he has. I love the direction that he's taking it in, bringing this I know it's cliche, but the ecosystem into play, or the play anywhere, anytime, and moving us away from being tethered to our consoles has a lot of potential.
Anchor?
Bar could be better.
That's solid. I mean, that's solid. I think that Phil and the team have turned the Xbox division around. I'm not a fan of exclusives going to PC. I'm a console gamer, and I think that exclusives make your console's identity. At the same time, I'm absolutely I have to applaud him with taking and having the balls to go in a new direction with hardware, with Scorpio, and kind of getting Microsoft back to what is. I said this before. If you're going to put Xbox games on a PC, you better have a console where the games are pretty damn close to that PC, because a lot of Xbox gamers are going to start feeling shaded because they're getting the lesser known, the worst versions of those games on Xbox One. It is the truth. So being able to have the Scorpio come out, if you're going to put those games on PC, as long as they're close, we know they're not going to be better because it's PC. But at the same time, as long as they're close and they play well and they play at a high fidelity, then I think they've done a right job. And no matter where you play the game, if you have a Scorpio or a PC, you'll be satisfied with it. So I think it's really smart. And I like the direction Phil has taken the Xbox brand. I like the fact that I said one sentence, I'm just going on because I'm a Phil fan. But I like the direction he's taken Microsoft, and hopefully, and I really like the interaction that they have with the fans more than anything. I really like that. Let's see here. I'll Drain Your Soul says, what price do you think people will be willing to pay for Scorpio? Anchor, give me a number.
No more than $600. But I think the ideal price will be about $500.
Bella.
I think the benchmark's going to be, it's kind of right in between Anchorman's about the 550. 549 is going to see it comfortably move off shelves. Anything above that is going to affect sales, and anything below that is probably also going to affect sales, because people are going to be concerned about how is this a new gen console with new hardware and it's cheaper. So right. I think 549 is going to be our benchmark.
I think they dropped the console at 500. I used to say 600 just based on the specs, but now I don't think they can be 200 above the PS4 Pro. They can't, in my opinion. I thought the PS4 Pro, because I really thought that the console was going to be like almost close to what Scorpio may have been, just because I didn't know what the true specs were. But being that it's only $399, which is an amazing price point, I think they have to be $499. They can't go above like $550 at the most. If they hit $600, it's pretty hard to sell that console. And I don't really think they really care about the console sales. I'm sure they do, but not in the vein of, oh my God, we only sold 1 million of these consoles. I just think that it's really important that that 500 price point is where it's at, and I think it flies off the shelves at 500. Absolutely flies off the shelf at 500. People think it won't. Microsoft will have some type of trading program for the Xbox Ones and the Slims, and you will get that console for probably the same price as a PS4 Pro or less. Let's see here. Nicholas Graham asks, do you think Scorpio will have a new CPU or a Jaguar? My understanding is that the CPU, which I think it was it a Vega? I think people were talking about the Vega CPU because I think the GPU was a Zen. So I think Vega was supposed to be, and I heard that that's not coming out next year. That's not coming out to 2018.
They're talking about it in retail. That's the thing that I get ticked off about is everyone's like, oh, because it's not in retail or it's this much at retail, it's this much all the time. And it's like, oh, like, okay, so like, okay, like, they're talking about like, okay, the Zen's gonna, like, I'm just throwing a hypothetical here. The Zen costs $600, so the Scorpio can't possibly be $600. It's gonna be way more than $600.
Yeah, console manufacturers get like 1/3 the price because they buy in bulk. People don't realize that. Yeah,
well, they get a special deal or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they will have a new CPU. I don't think they'll do Jaguar. I just don't see it. You know, not with what they're trying to do.
If they're going to harness those 6 teraflops and make sure that isn't going to affect the performance of the console, then I think they're really going to need to.
Yeah. Tremaine Johnson says, nope, that's something else. Apologies.
Let's just do our last question.
Yeah, I'm getting to it right now. Showan Watson says, "Did y'all read the Andrew House interview with Digital Spy?" I didn't read it. Did you guys read it? What'd you think?
The only part I assume what they want to talk about is there was a question that he was saying that like he didn't like if he was like astounded by Microsoft's reaction to the PlayStation Pro. Like he was like, "Oh, unprofessional." Like you know the standard stuff. I mean, it was the Xbox guys is the same thing. Like a couple years ago, where it was like Sony was making jokes and doing like, "Oh, here's a little video stuff," and you're like, "Oh, unprofessional." We didn't like it, and then now it's the other way around. They're saying the same exact stuff.
That's funny.
Unprofessional.
That's funny. That's hilarious. It's just funny, man. It's like you could take a shot, but you can't. I mean, you can give a shot, but you can't take a shot. Like, oh gosh, come on. Let's like be realistic here. All right, we're gonna finish up. I'm gonna finish up with I'll Drain Your Soul's question. He says, "Do you think the media will give Forza Horizon 3 and Gears a good review or play them down, media bias and all?" No, I think Forza Horizon 3 is going to score high. It's been scoring high since its inception, and I think, be honest, and I said this before, I think that Forza Horizon 3 has overtaken Forza.
Yep.
I just see so many people who love.
Actually, it's in Australia.
Yeah, and it's in Australia. It's beautiful. Australia is absolutely beautiful. It is. I just think as a series, people enjoy the music, the open world, being able to drive different vehicles, the way they have not even so much the acting, but that you have an actual story and that you're not just racing against cars, you're racing against jets and trains and boats, and you got cars coming in on helicopters and you're switching vehicles. It's amazing. It's really different.
So much goodness.
Yeah. So I think that
something for everyone.
Horizon 3 may be the game that hits 90 Metacritic once and for all and stays in the 90s. I really think that game will get 9s and 10s across the board just based on what I played. Amazing game. Gears, I don't know. I think Gears will sit in the 80s because you just have I think it's in the 80s because you just have Marcus Phoenix fanboys. It's like Master Chief fanboys. You just have people who feel like it should have been the original Delta Squad and no one really cares for the son and his crew. And I already seen people griping about.
Come on, hasn't Marcus done enough? Doesn't he deserve to put on a pair of slippers and sit back with a newspaper and a cigar? People, come on.
Apparently, Master Chief damn sure doesn't. So definitely Marcus doesn't. I think it's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be crazy. I really hope this game. First of all, this game is absolutely beautiful. Best looking game on Xbox. Absolutely beautiful. But I really think that, and I really hope story-wise, because that they put a lot into the story this time around with the Gears. Usually Gears is just more about action and explosions and gruesome deaths, but they put a lot into the story. I love what I've seen gameplay-wise, so I'm excited for it, and I really hope it stays in the 90, high 80 range.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent at the Coalition, so we've got a lot to look forward to from that release.
I agree. All right, so I apologize if I can't get to all your questions, man, but we got to head out. We've had a great show. I really want to thank Bella Rise for coming on. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we were not able to get B Money on. He had a football game with his children, and they won 30-0. So shout out to B Money and his kids, and congratulations on that big win. He's out celebrating with them. Mike Unified, I'm not sure I didn't get any feedback from him. Maybe we'll have him on another time or another date. But I want to thank Bella Joe for spending some time with us. I think this is her first. This is your first time on Tick Podcast, right?
I think it is.
I don't think we've ever had Bella on the show. So I'm very
happy. Why is that? No,
I don't know. I mean, I can't answer those questions. I can't answer those questions on air. That would be that would not be good. No, but I want to thank you for coming on the show. I really am grateful, and I really appreciate you stopping in. I want to thank everybody for stopping in and hanging out with us so late. It's 11:41 p.m. in the evening on the East Coast, and we still have people in here chatting with us. So very grateful for the support, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Next week, Friday, we have Anchorman Show Top Shelf, so tune in for that. And definitely you can find us on iTunes, Android, Windows. We are on the Podbean app. We are on Google Play, and we are on Stitcher app as well.
You can also get them on your microwave.
If you have an Xbox, you can find us on the Cast app. Just look up Tick Podcast.
Yep.
Word on Cast app and listen to us in the background while you're playing your games. So Tick Podcast. So once again, thank you for checking us out. We'll be back, and I'm your host, KRX Kal-El, with Anchorman V and Miss Bella Rise from RealGameMedia.com, and we are out of here. Peace.